Yes, finally I managed to get this video done. I know it's been taking me ages, but it's been a weird few months. The plan was that I was going to put a Bowie video out shortly after this one. It's hopefully not going to be too long of a wait, but anyway, the way things have worked out, it's going to be a little bit longer for that. But I am on it. I am, and there's some other stuff I want to do as well. So just know that it's on the way. Now, of course, just in case you haven't watched part 1, this is part 2. So I advise, if that is the case, that you go back and watch that video and then come back to this one, because I've got a few more things to add. Mainly, thank you for all your comments. Some of them have been super useful. Well, a lot of them have been super useful. And I have added a pinned comment to my first video that now includes a list of all the gapless CD players that I've been told about via the comments, and the CD players that don't play gapless, the problematic ones. I can't vouch for all of them because I've not tried them myself, but I mean, I think it seems to be pretty reliable information. Now, one person very kindly shared a video demonstrating a few CD players that actually played gapless, so I'll put the names of those CD players up there. I don't know how good they are as CD players, but I have seen the video evidence of them playing gapless, so that was very useful. I don't normally click on links to other things, but because it was on the person's own channel, I was able to click on their icon and it took me straight to it. So just bear that in mind if you're ever sort of sharing a link and I don't check it out. It's just because I'm just a bit cautious of clicking on links generally, even if they seem to be from a trusted source. At the other end of things, with regards to CD players that you should avoid, one of my viewers had already done a video about having a rant about the Jensen 565 portable CD player and how that didn't perform gapless. So lots of really useful information coming in from lots of different sources, which is all good. So basically that's one of the reasons why I've done this follow-up video, simply to draw attention to that information that is in that pinned comment. What's funny is that some of the comments every now and then have not necessarily been overtly negative, but there was an external forum where someone was asking, oh, is this possible? I've seen this on YouTube, and a person said, no, the guy's insane. This would never happen with CD players. I'm paraphrasing him there. To which someone replied, the guy actually demonstrates in his video that it does happen. So I love reading through some of these comments, and I was quite pleased to find, I think there were 2 forums actually relating to this video. So it showed that it got people talking elsewhere outside of this immediate thing. So that is exactly why I did it. And genuinely, if other YouTube channels can pick up this, who are bigger channels and can roll with this and get this message out there, that is exactly why I've done it. Now, if you watched part 1 of this video before the 31st of December, I have done a few edits that I'm going to go through, just a few select edits that I just wanted to sort of fine tune the video based on stuff that I'd sort of read in the comments and information I became privy to. I edited out the bit where I said that, I made a whole dramatic statement. You know how many CD players I was able to find out about outside of Cambridge Audio ones that could do the gapless playback, and then I chucked a bit of paper away very dramatically and went, none. Completely was true. That was my experience when I rang around the shops. But anyway, it turns out via some of the comments and stuff I've discovered since, that a lot of the stuff I was told was inaccurate. And that was either because there's people I spoke to at the shops, they didn't know what they were talking about, or they were given the wrong info, or indeed outdated info, because some of those CD players, or at least one of them, has been given a firmware update since. But yeah, if I'd rung around a few more places, I probably would have had more luck. But anyway, I got very disheartened very quickly. So yes, it's good that there are more gapless CD players out there than I thought there were originally. But equally, via the comments, I know that this is actually very much a problem, and I've been vindicated. So is it still a growing problem, as I put in the title of my first video rather dramatically? Maybe it's beginning to get better now. I don't know. But let's not get blasé about this. It could easily just be a thing that's going to keep on happening and could get worse again, even if it is getting better now. Now, I will just add quickly, actually, that someone from Richer Sounds Not the store that I went to. I don't want to talk about individual stores because that's a whole different thing to do. But they put into the comments section that they were surprised about the fact that I hadn't been able to find any CD players outside of the Cambridge Audio range in a Richer Sound store. They were aware of the Topaz system being a problem in the past, and that had been discontinued, and all the latest CD players that they had in stock, to his knowledge, were gapless. Now, I think if I remember correctly, they did say that they normally had a Denon CD player in stock which also performed gapless, but it wasn't available at the time that I went in. So the only CD players that were available to me in that particular store at that time that performed gapless were the Cambridge Audio ones, which contributed to my sense of that being the only CD player out there that I could find which was capable of it. Now, in fact, the first CD player that was offered to me was a Tangent CD player which didn't do gapless, which the person was very helpful. I expressed my concern that I was going to get a CD player that wasn't capable of that, and they found out indeed that it wasn't gapless, and they weren't actually aware of that until I brought that up with them. Now, the Tangent player is so bad, and the reason I'm mentioning that one by name is that according to one review on Amazon, it puts a whole 1 second gap in between every track. So it's even worse than your average non-gapless player. So really do avoid that one. Maybe they've updated it. I don't, I want to give them the chance to rectify that problem. Now, going back to the Topaz system, the person from Richer Sounds in the comments put that it had been a problematic CD player for various different reasons. In fact, my brother's Topaz system has recently, apart from making a few sort of odd whirring sounds, occasionally has a habit now of just stopping playing. It just will stop playing the CD, and you just have to start it again and play it again. It does it every now and then for no particular reason, so I think it's a bit of an annoying system, full stop, even if inexplicably you're not bothered by the lack of gapless playback. There were another couple of things that I edited out of part 1. And one of them was me saying, oh, of course, Blu-rays aren't affected by this problem. No, more fool me. I discovered to my disbelief in the comments that, yes, at least one Blu-ray player is affected by this. There may have been another one as well, but do have a look in the pinned comment to see which one that is. Whether that's still the case, and there might have been a firmware update for that, I don't know. But have a look in my pinned comment to see the details of what one that is. And finally, there was a little bit where I just sort of slightly bigged up Cambridge Audio by saying I think they're the best company to go for still, despite their being let down by the Topaz CD player. I don't actually necessarily think that's the case anymore. I'm not saying that they're a bad company to go for, but I think that there are potentially better ones to go for. Also, I was a bit disappointed by my AXC25, and I'm going to tell you why that is in a moment. The AXC35 I'm sure is better. I haven't tried it out, but I'll go into that. So I just removed the little bits where I was sort of slightly bigging them up. I think I felt a little bit sorry for them having used their CD player as the sort of the exhibit of shame. One other thing that I did do for the purposes of this video, and I sort of kind of just dropping it in here because I forgot. Anyway, but basically I went to Curry's because obviously they do budget CD players there, and this problem seems to sort of manifest obviously a lot more in the sort of cheaper end of the range. Anyway, I was very pleased to find that, well, they had a whole load of CD players there. So I just went one by one and tested a CD on each of them. And there were 2 by Denon, there were 2 by Panasonic, and there were 2 by JVC. I'll list them in my pinned comment on the first video. But anyway, they all play gapless. I'm not recommending them as CD players because I don't actually think they're probably the best ones to go for. But in the budget end of things, I think probably the Denon ones are going to be the better ones. But I wasn't really sort of listening to sort of sound quality and stuff. That's a separate voyage that you need to go on by yourself. But all I'm just saying is that they play gapless. So now, just because I've said that those CD players play gapless, there might be another batch of them that don't for some reason, because things seem to slip through the net and all sorts of weird anomalies creep up. with some person saying that they tested 2 of the same model. I forget which one it was, and one of them played gapless and one of them didn't, but it was literally the same model. Don't trust anything, just test it out. But it's good that there were 6 different players that I tried out in carries, and they all played gapless. Way. Another thing I mentioned, I didn't actually mention the name of the CD player. The people, one of the people I spoke to, I'll name what it was that I was told was not gapless. It was a Yamaha CD player. I'm assuming it was the Yamaha S303 because he said they only make one CD player. Again, whether that's accurate or not, I don't know. But it seems that one, and I checked out. I spoke to a guy in the comments section of his YouTube video that he did. He reviews CD players and stuff. I put the details of his thing in my pinned comment. And yeah, basically he said that there has been firmware updates to that said CD player. Those updates were 1.48 was when apparently the problem was solved, according to him, and the update of 1.61, it's still working fine apparently. So that's so it's good to know that if you're going to go down the Yamaha route, from what I've been told, it's you're going to get a gapless CD player, so that is a good thing. And if you have got one that's got an issue, then you can get an update for that. And the reason I've mentioned that one by name is because I have a Yamaha CD player. It's an old one. It's a CRX 550. I'm going to demonstrate some things that are quite cool about that CD player. It's a CD player I've had for 10 years now or thereabouts. And I just want to show you some things that that one does that my latest Cambridge Audio CD player doesn't do. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to change the camera angle. Okay, so I don't want this to be long-winded, but here we go. This is my current setup. This was my original CD player here, which I'm still very happy with. I bought this one because this one started making a whirring noise almost every time I used it. That's now stopped, which I'm very glad of, and so therefore I'm not actually currently using this one. The reason I'm not using this one, which I've got plugged into the back of this, is because it's got analog outputs and the internal DAC isn't very good. I didn't sort of particularly home in on that when I was buying it, which I'm kind of a bit annoyed by. So if you're going to go down the route of buying this, don't buy the AXC35 if you're going to go down the Cambridge Audio route at all. I'm not going to recommend to you what the CD players are the best ones to go for in terms of sound quality, but ridiculous as it sounds perhaps to some of you, I didn't really know or home in on what a DAC was. I just thought a standalone CD player was as good as the amplifier that you were plugging it into, which is completely ignorant of me, and now I know. So if any of you watching could actually recommend to me a good DAC unit, that would be really appreciated when I get my new setup, which I don't need to at the moment because, like I said, this one's behaving all right. What alerted me to the fact that this sounded not very good, and I'm going to put 2 demonstration things up here. I was just going to put that one there, and this one here. Just these are the 2 test CDs I did. I played the opening tracks off both of these, so the single, Baby's Got a Temper, the opening electronic sound in that, and the, Robin Williamson and his merry band, Border Tango, the opening track of that, has a very bright sounding harp. Now, instantly, as I played it on this Cambridge Audio system, it sounded... there was a lack of clarity to it. It sounded like frequencies were missing almost a bit like when you sort of play an MP3. That's kind of what it sort of sounded like by comparison to this one when I A-B'd it. And it just sounded a bit muddy, especially when all the rhythm sections came in, and, you know, comes in with a wallop on this one and comes in with a sort of funky edge on this one. And it just sounded muddy, and it just it's instantly recognizable as being a thing, a drop in quality. So that's a shame. So I just wanted to alert you to that being something you need to just look out for when buying a standalone CD player. Make sure it has a good DAC, or if it doesn't, has a digital output so that you could bypass the internal DAC and get a decent one. So there you go. That's one thing I'm going to talk about. And let's now talk about another thing. Okay, so for the next thing I'm going to talk about, I'm going to switch that on, and I am going to plug in, or rather insert this disc here. So you can put it into reverse So it's going backwards, which I sometimes quite like to do, just it's sometimes a bit a different way of sort of seeing the display. And then you've got the overall thing there. That's the overall runtime and the overall runtime counting down. And look, it's the title of the song and the title of the band and the title of the album. It's not important in a grand scheme of things, but it's just a nice sort of little bit of extra sort of thing that you get when you buy your CD player. And I don't know how many of them do it nowadays. So again, I'd be interested to know which ones do it and which ones don't. But I know that a lot of them don't now. It seems to be they're cutting back on these kinds of things, and that's kind of annoying. I have just noticed actually something with this one here. So I'm just kind of going down the rabbit hole with sort of showing you some things here. So this is Blur Think Tank. Why am I choosing this particular CD? Well, first of all, it's one of those CDs that has a hidden track before the first track. Now, I've just noticed, and I seem to have a memory of this CD player being able to do this, but apparently not. So when you would rewind before the first track, it would go, I mean, you could do it that way as well, but it's not doing it for some reason, and I don't know why that is. I'm sure I remember it being able to do it, but there you go. It's not a big thing, but the thing I'm mainly demonstrating, another album, by the way, that has that on it is Songs for the Deaf. It has a hidden track at the start. It's a sort of silly sort of thing that they sort of did with CDs for a while, and it's just a nice little thing to discover and go, oh, there's an extra thing there. But it's also irritating because when you rewind back through it, you can easily overshoot, and then once you obviously overshoot, the CD just stops. So it's a non-essential thing, but there you go. Right, okay, so here we go. I'm going to rewind, because as you see, you get a nice little countdown before the start of the next track. And within this countdown is another little bit of audio. So you've got that, and then obviously it gets to there, and then the song starts. It's a transition between Moroccan People's Revolutionary Bowls Club and Sweet Song is what it is. It's between those two, but it's just an interesting sort of a little artistic thing to be able to do, which this CD player below it won't do. It will just add those 10 seconds on to the end of the last track, or the other way around. It basically won't show it as the minus figures. It will play it as it would if it was on a computer. Similar things happen on this album. Brilliant album. Definitely going to do a review of this before long. This one has an entire, I think, 2.5 minutes in the minus figures going into a track, and it's interesting because it's not track 5 and it's not track 6. It's in between the two tracks, and it just adds a certain je ne sais quoi to the listening experience. And I just think that's a sort of a fascinating thing that you can do with CDs. And when you're playing it on something like that, you don't get that. Now, interestingly, on this particular album here, I'm just demonstrating through here, they haven't put the track information in terms of the artist name. A lot of CDs I notice don't do this. I think it's nice when they do, but again, if it's on there, it will display it. If it's not, it won't. So there you go. That's another couple of reasons why this CD player is so much better than this one. Those things, they're not essential, but I do like them, and mostly the sound quality is way better. So do bear all of this in mind when making your purchase. So there you go. That pretty much covers everything I was going to say. I've probably forgotten something really important and essential, but I'll put a pinned comment on this video as well, just in case of that, and then I can add anything if I thought of it afterwards. Now, of course, if there is any updates with regards to any of the CD players I've talked about, or there's something that's a little bit inaccurate, either I'll sort of edit a bit out, or probably simpler would be for me to just add that information into the pinned comments. So just have a little quick look after watching this, just double check I haven't added any notes in there. But all the information about those gapless and non-gapless CD players is on the pinned comment on the first video. I don't want to copy that comment and put it across onto this video, because it's two sort of things to manage then, and it's easier just keeping it in one place. So there you go. And Thank you for watching again, and I am going to just sort of return to sort of music reviews and things like that now, so that's great.